And welcome to Sugar Talk with Dr. K. Gene Lucas and Dr. Lucas in the house. And good morning.
Good morning.
What are we talking about today?
We're talking about insulin and insulin studies.
Okay, all right. So what's up with it?
So people ask why they keep developing new insulins. Because a new insulin just got approved by Novo. It's Fiasp. It's one of the ones that we did a study on a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason is because they make the insulins either last longer or work quicker.
You've talked in the past about sort of the origins of insulin, how it came to be synthetics and various other forms, and so now it seems to be the quest to find the ones that you can control.
Yeah, the ones that mimic the body the best.
Yeah.
So as far as that goes, long-acting insulin, if it works over a day or at least a day, will help you give a basal insulin, like a little bit of insulin all the time, whether you eat or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fast-acting insulin, your own body's insulin works really quick, so it'd be nice if you injected something under your skin that also worked as quick so that your sugar would never go up when you eat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the quest for the insulins that work quicker. Everybody thinks, the Novolog and Humalog work quick, but they work quicker than regular insulin or our insulin, which was the first type of insulin that was ever made. So these work faster, but they still take a while. There's still a lag. The sugar still goes up quicker than the insulin works. So the new insulins work quicker.
Mm-hmm.
There are different ways of doing that. One is to make the molecule smaller, but sometimes that's not possible. The other is to add something to the insulin. And so we have two studies that have added something to the insulin to make it absorb quicker. And one of these, for example, adds a dilator. It dilates the blood vessels.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah.
So when you inject it, it dilates the blood vessels around the injection,
Mm-hmm.
so that you get more blood flow and you get absorption very quickly. Now, sometimes that's a problem. If you get it too quick, then you take it and it might work before you absorb the food, and then you have a low blood sugar while you're eating. So you have to be careful with the dose, but it makes sense to have something that works quick. So you absorb the food, it keeps the sugar from going as high after eating, and it helps a lot with not needing as much insulin and not having these ups and downs that people with diabetes have a lot with insulin.
So it's sort of like the quest for automobiles. You either want them fast or you want them to last, to have good mileage.
Right.
So you can't necessarily do both. So
yeah, the sports car.
So
Volvo.
So do you want? Is the long-acting one also equal quest to the short-acting and trying to find it?
Yeah, I think the latest one was Tresiba. That's the one that lasts 42 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It overlaps so that if you miss a dose, then it's not as crucial. So it does last longer than anything on the market right now. So that's the longest. I don't know of any other ones in development. I'm sure there are. I think the fast-acting is now more of a quest to find out the best fast-acting that works at the perfect time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
we have two studies with an additive to Humalog. Right. So the groups either get Humalog. There's no placebo in insulin studies because you can't be without insulin. So you always get something. Usually you get either just the usual Humalog or Novolog, or you get the new insulin. So the new insulin would be also in either a pen form or syringe form in the studies. One study has a syringe because we have to put the additive in the bottle and draw it up, and the other one has already in a pen.
Mm-hmm. So
those are two that are ongoing now. One of them, they want your sugar to be really good. So they want your A1C to be 6.9 to 7.9. So if your blood sugar is really, really good on the insulin you're on and you want to be in this, it's called good to great study. And the other one is a Lilly product with Humalog. So it's an additive to Humalog. And that one also requires your A1C to be between 7 and 9.5. So you can't be way out of control. But if you think you might qualify, then those are two good ones for type 1s.
Mm-hmm. Now, is it always injectable? I mean, are there studies for oral insulin?
Well, there's inhaled insulin. That's a Afrezza. That's already out on the market.
Mm-hmm.
And that took quite a while to get approved. And I don't think it's caught on as much, mainly because the needles that you give insulin with, have gotten very, very small and thin, and it's a lot less painful to
Is
get
that
an
because
insulin
the
shot.
molecular structure is so small now, or is that?
No, it was just manufacturing,
Mhm.
just getting them smaller and smaller.
Okay. All right. So again, if people want to get into these studies, there's a benefit to them, obviously, but a benefit to humanity, right? I mean, in general.
Yes, people need to test out. A lot of times, what they'll do in these studies is actually have you wear a continuous glucose monitor to see how the blood sugars are doing. The other way of finding out how the blood sugars are when you take that insulin is to do this meal test. So you drink a liquid meal, usually it's Boost, a high protein Boost, and they measure your blood every 30 minutes for 2 hours or up to 4 hours, depending on the study, and they'll see what your blood sugars are when you take your insulin, and then they do the new insulin, they do the same thing and see if it works quicker. So they can tell how much, they measure how much insulin is in your body at a certain time and what your blood sugar is. So that's pretty interesting. You see those results.
So that means you do have to have people with a certain amount of regulation, right? Because you don't want
you don't want them to go way out of control during that test. You give them insulin before the test, and you figure out how much to give, and then you give that drink, which I think is pretty good. It's you can get vanilla or chocolate.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
I don't think they have strawberry ones.
Not yet. But this is again, it's part of the studies that you're currently offering, right?
Yeah. So one of the studies is only like 8 weeks long. So that's the ones that use syringes. So if you like, I'm not going to ever use syringes again. It's not a big deal. It's just for the short-acting insulin, and they provide the insulin. So they provide, both studies provide the basal insulin and the study, the pre-meal insulin. So that's one reason people like to be in diabetes studies, because the price of insulin's gone crazy. And this way they get free insulin for the duration of the study. The other study is about a year long. That's the Lilly study, is a year long. And so that's a good opportunity to get your strips covered, your insulin covered.
Well, that was my next question. All the testing materials covered too for strips.
All the tests, yeah, they want you to test it. They'll have
Yeah.
you test it. One study wants you to test it like a couple of times during the study, 10 times a day, like 1 hour and 2 hours after, to get a feel for what the insulin's doing.
Okay, we'll tell you how to sign up and to find out more too, but also about Diabetes School that's coming up in just a couple of weeks, and you can find out more right here next in our next segment here with Dr. K. Gene Lucas from Lucas Research, online at lucasresearch.org, and available for appointment at 252-222-5700.